Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeffrey. Very happy today I can share with you my personal research about the consensus change of the Bitcoins, whether we can see this kind of Bitcoin updates this year. A short introduction about Hashi Capitals. We are one of the largest crypto fund of the ecosystem. We have invested more than 500 projects before, and we covered almost all sectors of the industry. And we continue to looking for new projects, and we also invested lots of the Bitcoin projects before. For myself, I'm a head of investment research of the Hashi Capital, and I myself also contributor for the Bitcoin OP-Tech newsletter, which is, I think, one of the most famous newsletter of the Bitcoin's industry. So let's back to the topic itself. So for today, I want to share you with 3 topics. One is I will go through quickly go through all the overview of the potential upgrade proposals, and I will also share you with some review of the upgrade process, how it will upgrade. And I will also share some of my predictions of how it will affect of the Bitcoin industry and also the Bitcoin ecosystem. So you may wonder, in the first place, does Bitcoin also upgrade? I'd say yes, because you can see lots of the new Bitcoin's features, including the BRC20, ruins, and other features you may know that has been enabled after the Taproot upgrade. But like maybe even earlier, like SegWit also enabled lots of new features, including the Lightning Network. Besides the SegWit, you can see that it somehow also enlarged the block size itself, but it also enabled Lightning Networks. And the Bitcoins, like the Taproot upgrade, also enabled some other features rather than the BRC20 and Ordinals. Like you can see, Bitcoin itself, you can see that it has the native account abstractions features right now, rather than comparing with the Ethereum. Because when you see the native Taproot address, you cannot tell whether it's a single signature, multi-signature, or maybe script. So that's we can see that the Taproot address is the first class citizens of the Bitcoin network. So we have the native account abstractions on the Bitcoin. So that's all the features has been enabled by the Bitcoin upgrade. But how it works, because for Ethereum, I think it's easy, right? We can follow all the discussions of the core developers for the core dev course, and we can also learn something from the roadmap. But for Bitcoin, it's quite different. So I think the major difference might be related to the process itself, because the Bitcoin itself just followed all the soft forks. So there's a consensus change. Because soft fork, all the node, don't actually some nodes don't will be to be expelled from the network, even though they don't agree with the new features. Probably the node just don't want the new features, but they can still stay in the network. So that's a soft fork. And so that's the consensus upgrade in the Bitcoin, so it works. And also, there has been some non-consensus change even every week, because if you follow the OP-Tech newsletter, you will see that all the clients and also all the software of the Bitcoins, it updates in many kinds of ways and many very frequent ways. So we have some new features even without consensus change. So that's all kinds of the upgrades the Bitcoin can have. So probably we can talk about the non-consensus change. So that's when on the node's own behaviors, so that we can have the mempool behaviors like mempool policy, including maybe you have the RBF features and some kind of the V3 transaction relay. So let's kind of the mempool related features. And we also have some new features like broadcast. We can see using the early, some other features to optimize the transaction broadcast. And also there have been some UTXO related some features like UTXO and also dust limit. And we also have some new features quite interesting, like the silent payments and other kind of new features. All these kind of new features just don't require the consensus change. We can just build some new features based on the node itself. So all the other features, they don't need to change the consensus rule itself. So that's the upgrade without consensus upgrade. or maybe we can see that's more precisely, we can see the consensus change. But some features do need change the consensus rule that all nodes have to follow. So that means the rules, the nodes to how for them to verify the blocks, how for them to verify transactions will somehow change. So that's a consensus upgrade. Or we can see the consensus change. So that's the topic we will talk about today. And I will summarize this change into maybe into three categories. One is called the technical debt. So we will see the consensus clean up. We have some technical debt to solve in the first place. And we can have some new features like the covenants, so which is quite kinds of the proposals, not only one features, but probably many kinds of features being enabled by the covenants. And maybe we'll have some new other kind of features rather than the programmabilities of the covenants. So that's maybe the three categories of the upgrade can be. So let's talk about the first category is the consensus cleanup. So we do, because Bitcoin has been run for more than 10 years, there has to be some of the technical debt before. So developers has been discussed recently to see whether we should doing this kind of consensus cleanup first to solve some problems like time warp attacks or maybe duplicated Coinbase transactions. So that's a technical debt we have seen in the Bitcoin network. But people are also very cautious because if we change something, if they just have some transaction spending that UTXO using that features, probably that means we will confiscated some monies from the Bitcoins, which is against the philosophy of the Bitcoin. So people also discussing whether we should do that, but we can be quite cautious to doing that consensus cleanup. So the second one is covenants. So covenants is very kinds of the proposals we have been discussed quite recently. So covenant itself is a mechanism that we can set some conditions. So how we can spend the money. So because right now, so if you own some UTX, so you can send it in anywhere, anytime. But for the covenant itself, so it can set some conditions on the UTX, so how you can send. But right now we do have some limited covenants right now, but we only got the time lock so that we can just spend the UTXO after like several blocks, and then we can spend that money. But if we want some more programmabilities, I think we need some covenants to have this more programmabilities. So if you're interested in learn more about this, you can also check out our research report before. This is also survey of all the covenants, because you see there's not only one covenants, but there's lots of other covenants, including the OpCat you may know, but also some other covenants, quite hot covenants right now, because like the OPCTV, CSFS, and other kind of covenants. So our people are talking about recently. So this is a survey about all the developer opinions about whether we should do it early or we should discuss more. So the first covenant I want to talk about is OPCTV, because CTV is short for the check template verify. So it can check the some transactions which span the UTX. So whether it's a transaction hash can match the match the template you set before. So only if the transaction hash matches, so you can spend that. So that means you can just spend that money to the predefined ways. One example that maybe you can see is a Babylon staking. So when the money has to be slashed, it can be defined that money has to be burned, not to send someone else's wallet. So that's one of the example of the OPCTV's use case. And actually, CTV has been tapped to upgrade like 3 years ago, but it failed because people, I think, the time is not mature at that time. But I think for this year, we also have seen some progress of the CTV, because right now it's been submitted a PR in the Bitcoin Core repo recently. So probably we will have some more discussions, because some other developers also thinking about whether it's still, because the features are quite limited, so probably we should do more research on that, or maybe we can combine with some other components like CSFS, or maybe some other like transaction hash. some other components. So that's CTV. And also a second component we right now in the proposal CSFS. So that's a check signature from stack, which can check any signatures from the stacks instead of the only for the transactional hash. So we can enable more flexible contracts, like for the more decentralized DLC, and maybe some other applications like L2, or maybe some other features. So right now, developer community, I think it's more acceptable to do the more like a CTV plus CSFS to make it more powerful. And also some proposals also considering that maybe you can do it step by step. Maybe you can do it first as a CTV plus CSFS, and then we can do OpenCat, or maybe GSR, or maybe you can do the L-enhance later on. So we can do it like in 3 steps instead of we do it in 1 step. So that's a CSFS. And another one probably is more popular in the Bitcoin ecosystem is OpenCat. Actually, it's quite simple. It's concatenates 2 items on the stacks, and it's also disabled quite long ago because of it has some vulnerabilities for the script. But right now it's been right now because Taproot upgrade, so we don't have this kind of vulnerability right now. So also people are thinking about whether we can to enable this script to have more applications, like we can, based on the OpenCat, we can make lots of the applications like landings, also for the BTC file, and more simply, like we can do a very generic Merkle tree verification, or maybe you can do some stack, this kind of verifications. So, but there's also some concerns whether it's too flexible, because we don't know whether it's some risk when we're doing that. So that's for the OpenCat. And also there have been some combination of all the proposals, like maybe we can do it like in the combination we can do, it's called the L-enhance, to enhance all the Lightning networks. So, and also maybe we can also, it's also be very useful for the ARC and maybe some other layer tools, but maybe it's too complex for the test auditing. And there's also some combination like the great script restorations. So, but so it's even bigger. So it's also more concerns about whether it's too aggressive to have this GSR to in one proposal. So yeah, so that's all the features I want to talk about. And there's also some features of our components, and there's also some other proposals like quantum resistance. There are also some proposals to doing that. So that's all the features. But how we can enable that? So it involves the soft fork. So, but for soft fork, it's quite tricky because it can even happen today, right? Because you don't need to do all the governance or maybe developers just implementation. You can just simply fork the repo, and you can just implement your own client. But problem is that how many people will acknowledge that? So you have to discuss, and also you have to get people to acknowledge that the new implementations. So we need more discuss and to get that consensus before the consensus, so that we can do the soft fork. And there'll be some requisitions to before we can do that soft fork. Like we'll have a BIP, we'll have some implementations, and we will have some significant community support, and we will have some activation plan, like maybe some MASF or maybe USF. So including there'll be some other kind of way, like speedy trial, or maybe some flag days, or maybe some other ways that we can active that soft fork. So probably we could have more discussion on, so for next, like for this year, how we can enable that. And the last part I want to talk about today is how this kind of soft fork will bring to the Bitcoins. So from several things, from the feature side, I think we'll bring more reliable components on the Bitcoins. So more activities can move to on the layer 1 itself, like including the staking, and maybe some BTC-Fi primitives like DLC or stable, especially can be combined with stablecoin like Taproot assets. And maybe we can do more off-chain, like maybe some, we can make the Lightning networks more robust, maybe we can enable the ARC on some other BitVM2 bridges. So we can. So that's for on-chain and off-chain. We also have some benefits on that. But back to the topic today. So whether we have see this in this year, I don't have the answer for this, but we can keep a close eye on this kind of events like the OpenNext next week. There's a conference we probably lots of developers will discuss about, and we also follow the PR review of the Bitcoin Core and also some discussions about the activations. So yeah, so that's today's keynote. Hope you will enjoy this share. Thank you.